जय भीम, जय मल निवासी, जय संविधान, जय भारत. Myself, Ulpis Jadhav, welcome you all on MNT News Network special program on 26th January, that is the Republic Day of India. Today we are going to discuss a very much important point that is raising today, we can say, very much debatable issue we are facing right now. So we are going to discuss with Mulnivasi Dr. Ayaz Ahmad uh, on this topic. Today's topic is challenges and promises on 76th Republic Day of India. Speaker is Mulnivasi Dr. Ayaz Ahmad, who is Fulbright visiting scholar at the Department of Philosophy, Columbia University, New York. So let us welcome Mulnivasi Dr. Ayaz Ahmad on MNT News Network. So Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidhan.
Jai Hind, Jai Samvidhan. Thank you for having me here. I'm honored to be with
Yeah.
you.
Today we are celebrating 76th Republic Day of India, and it is a great occasion for us. Basically, we can say for the Mulnivasis of India who got the Constitution of India today, and we got rights, human rights. We can say we got today, and on this day we are on, we can say, 76th day anniversary. We are going to discuss the challenges and the promises which we are going to do on this Republic Day. So we first of all we would like to know the challenges. As for now we have, for basically the for whole India we are facing some challenges. We can say the basic of, we can say, what the Constitution of India wanted to implement into India, and the basic fundamental rights or the directive principles of the state, which the Constitution of India has enshrined in it, and which was implemented by the people of India, we can say, and the people whom we are electing, and they have to implement this the Constitution of India with its letter and spirit. So let us discuss the challenges today we are facing, or we can say the nation is facing. I would like to ask you some question that what do you think? We already passed 75 years now, and we are celebrating 76th Republic Day of India. So, what are the challenges in current scenario we are facing as an Indian? Mulnivasi Dr. Ayaz Ahmad.
Yeah.
Over to
So,
you.
so
Yeah.
there are many challenges that we are facing on this 76th Republic Day, and but if I'm to point out one of the most formidable challenges, I would point out that it is the destruction of public education system. From school to college to universities, the systematic destruction and dismantling of public education system, I think, is our single most important challenge, because not only it tries to stall the progress that has been made under the constitutional republic, it reverses many of the gains that have been made uh, over the decades since the commencement of the Indian Constitution. And I say this with the sense and awareness that it is a policy decision which was taken in the 1990s, and both the leading political parties have been complicit in it. We have seen that how public education system has been systematically destroyed through reduction in funding, appointment, infrastructure, and simultaneously promoting private education system. The reasons are many, and one can go into the details, but I think this destruction of public education system, denying access to quality education to close to some 80% population. At present, only about 15, maximum 20% of our children and young have the opportunity to get good quality education through mostly private educational institutions and a handful of public education system, which survive despite the collective assault, governmental assault on the public education system. So I would point out that the education system and consistent attempt to public education system and consistent attempt bipartisan, I would go on to say that multi-partisan attack on the public education system constitutes the single most important challenge to the sustenance and success of the Republic of India that we are celebrating its 76th anniversary today. Then I would also, in the present geopolitical context, point out a very different kind of a challenge that we're facing, which is a challenge at the geopolitical scale, whereby disturbance at global level are going on, and a rivalry is going on between a bloc led by America and then another bloc led by China. Uh, and somehow the establishment has not managed to get the pulse of what is going on at the global level and what the implication of that geopolitical challenge is for India in particular and the entire United States of India, as I call it, from the river Indus to the Indus River to Indian Ocean. The entire Indian subcontinent, or what I call United States of India, is now facing extraordinary geopolitical challenge for its survival and sustenance. So these are two huge challenges that we are facing on this 76th Republic Day.
So let us discuss on this. Maybe you are focusing on basically the education system in India. So what is the reason you think that why it is destroyed by the we can say you told by from 1990s it is going on, but we can see in last 10 years it is more devastating uh, to this we can say the education system of India and the new what they call is new policy or the new niti which they are bringing, and that is more devastating for the education system. So what is the reason behind that, why they are doing like such activities, but they are telling that they are building the nation, but at the other hand they are destroying the basic we can say the structure of the India, the education system of India. So what do you think? What is the reason behind that?
One more prominent reason, which is very much in currency now, and I think that there is consensus on this on the origin of the problem, which is the uh, implementation of the Mandal Commission. As soon as Mandal report was implemented, it came on the horizon. We can see that there is a concerted effort by the ruling caste of India to somehow destroy the capacity of the majority of Indians who could develop that capacity through public education system. So it is from early 1990s. We find that there are attempts which are being made to promote private education system and defund, uh, overregulate, misregulate public education system. And that is also very prominently reflected in the judgments which have gone to the Supreme Court and the kind of judgment that Supreme Court has delivered all through the early 1990s till the end of early 2002 was the TMFI judgment, when in a way Supreme Court finally said that well there is there is no right to kind of a public education system through which the overwhelming majority of Indian children, youth could get themselves trained and empowered. So that is the clear reason is of course the aspirational arrival of middle caste groups, the other backward caste groups, and what is known as the scheduled caste group. Scheduled caste groups were there on the horizon, and that they were tolerated because they were really in a minority. So when you have scheduled caste and scheduled tribe only making claims on public education and public employment and larger share in power, then it is not a much bigger problem because they still remain a small minority. It's only when the other backward caste, the middle caste, come on the horizon with some 50 to 60% population, and they start demonstrating some genuine aspiration for quality education, for representation in public institutions, for a share in power. That's when the ruling caste, so-called upper caste group, they get alarmed, and the way to manage is, of course, at one level they unleash the communal Hindu-Muslim, cacophony, violence, and kind of deluging in the public space with the religious conflict and strife. But at the second level, at the strategic level, at the institutional level, they go on to systematically destroy public education system by facilitating the growth, development, and expansion of private education system. At the same time, destroying, consciously, systematically destroying public education system through which the majority of SC/ST OBC communities, close to 90% of the population, could have gained capacities, strength, and ability to challenge the people in power, and not just challenge the people in power, but to implement the humane and egalitarian dreams, aspirations of the Constitution of India. So Constitution of India and its humane, democratic, egalitarian spirit could be achieved and could be realized through empowerment of the masses, empowerment of the majority of the people through education. So it is only when they see, the ruling caste see a kind of awareness within the middle caste groups, that they get alarmed and they move on multiple fronts. But on the educational front, the challenge is more formidable, because then you have multiple generations who are decapitated, who are destroyed, whose capacities are destroyed. So if your child is, say, let us take the example, if your child goes to the government school uh, and then goes to the government university, somehow manages to pass out from the school, where the pass out rates are very, very low and the dropout rates are very high, and manages to get into the public college or government college and government university, barring few exceptions of the central universities, you have a young person who has got some formal degree and education, etc., etc., but who is, for all practical purposes, dysfunctional. From in school, he could not learn anything. In the college or university, that young person could not gain any skill or capacity to sustain himself, or then to contribute to his community, society, and to the nation. And therefore, you have a whole force of unemployed people who are also simultaneously incapacitated because of lack of education. And then this is one pillar, whereby people get an illusion of getting some education, go into government schools, colleges, and universities, and they feel that, okay, parents also feel that their children are studying. As community members also think and feel that, okay, there is some education going on, but when actually it is no education going on, it is actually wastage of time and energy and of people or students coming from marginalized communities, from the Bahujan community. That is one pillar. The second pillar is that you have simultaneous growth of private education institutions, from school, college to universities. What it does is that the ruling caste, the so-called upper caste, Brahmin, Savarna caste groups, including some Ashraf, they move to private schools, colleges, and universities. So where there is some education taking place, you have only the same old 10%, 15% population who had benefited from public education system, moving away to the private education system, and therefore continuing to acquire those skills and capacities which are necessary to excel in the marketplace of ideas or in the marketplace of economies. But on the other hand, you have the Bahujan community, SC, ST, OBC communities who have absolutely no ability to financial capacity to get into the private education system, and then they get into public educational system, hoping that maybe through reservation, etc., we are getting into some kind of education, we are getting some opportunity, but which is actually not an opportunity, which is a reverse of it, which is decapacitation, destruction of whatever innate potential one might have had if that person had gone to, say, in acquiring some kind of a practical skill in business, in employment, or etc., in entrepreneurship. But even that possibility is destroyed because you have the child, the student, feeling that this is an educational opportunity. Parents and communities feeling that their children are actually acquiring some skill, some education, and they are creating opportunities for themselves. But the truth of the matter is, it's the reverse. It is the destruction of the capacity, and it's the wastage of the potential and energy which is taking place through the public educational system because it is dead for all practical purposes. And the private educational institution is completely dominated by the same old traditional ruling caste groups, so-called upper caste groups, which is financially prohibitive, for the majority of the students coming from SC, ST, OBC communities. And therefore, the net result is the republic is left poorer. That's why it is a challenge for the republic. It is not a challenge for the Bahujan community only. Of course, they are the worst victim and worst sufferers, but it is the republic which becomes poor because the capacity of the Republic of India to deliver economic opportunities, to build a space in the geopolitical scenario, whereby to stand with confidence, self-confidence at the world stage, that possibility is destroyed. So all you can do is to bow to China on one side, and then bow simultaneously to the America-led formation. So all that the Republic of India can do today is to try to placate and submit its sovereignty on one hand to the China-led bloc, and on the other hand to the America-led bloc. There is no real sovereignty now. The sovereignty of Republic of India is lost because we just don't have the capacity to stand on our own. And why is that? So because of the majority of the people do not have any educational opportunity through which the capacity can be built. So therefore, it is a challenge for the Republic of India. And from that point of view, I would say that this whole Mandal movement and its response with the destruction of educational institution. I would add one more cause, as you asked me about the cause, is global geopolitics also, led by Euro-American world, has decided and had imposed in a way that you should not develop the capacity of your own people. So the privatization of educational institution also comes from decisions which are taken in Washington, in London, through IMF, through World Bank. They're imposed that you have to privatize, and you cannot go on to build the capacity of your people the manner in which China has done, because then we would also become a threat to the hegemony, to the dominance of the global geopolitical powers. So it's a twin cause, I would say. It's not a singular cause that because upper caste people were, they didn't want to allow the Bahujan groups to get empowered, therefore they took the decision. The strategy actually came from Washington and London through IMF and World Bank, and it was imposed, and Brahmin, Savarna, upper caste people were more than happy to accept and embrace it at a time when the Mandal movement was also coming up, when the middle caste were also getting aspirational in terms of education, in terms of sharing economic resources and democratic power. So it's a twin kind of a causal relation that I would say has produced this challenge of educational disempowerment and educational deprivation.
So basically, you pointed out 2 points. I would say the one is we can call it Indian oligarchy, and another is global oligarchy,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
that's
it is looks like that it is a very long-term policy going on, and very strategically they are working. they introduced the EWS to safeguard the 10%.
Yeah.
So they are doing the privatization of the institutions also.
Yeah. EWS is,
Yeah,
in a
they are
way,
doing the
now it
privatization
becomes,
of the institutions also.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And whatever little space is available, which is decent in the public institutions and public education system, you want to corner that through EWS, 10% EWS. So, 90% of public
Yeah, so
institutions and
at
public
one side they are,
employment, public education is dead, and so whatever 10% is remaining, even that is captured by the same ruling caste groups. But on the other hand, it's the private sector where the real educational imparting capacity has shifted, and also the employment. It was always the case, but even the decision-making power of the government has shifted to the private sector. The government hardly has any sovereignty to take a decision, only through the government employees. I mean, that will be completely misunderstanding of the way power is operating at present juncture.
okay, so now let us talk about the promises which we are going to do on this 76th Republic Day of India to recover from this damages, whatever these people had done to our constitution or constitutional morality, we can say. They have destroyed the institutions which is very much, we can say, built by the Constitution of India. And right now we are facing multiple challenges, especially we can say about the Mulivasi Bahujan, uh, which is very long term, what challenges they are facing right now, which will they will see in upcoming days. Not at, we can say, that currently they are facing that challenges, but in long term obviously they will face the severe challenges which right now you are telling us. So what promises we have to do on, what do you think we have to do now from onwards?
In terms of promises that I see on this 76th Republic Day, I have I think it is very promising to see that different sections of the Bahujan society are now beginning to realize that they have to make their own efforts in the field of education also. Just 10, 15, 20 years back, it was all dependence on the public education sector. So now you see that groups are coming together, forming educational societies, training centers, schools, colleges. You have some universities also coming up. So ideas are shaping up within the Bahujan community that we have to make our own institution building, projects. So we have to educational institution, schools, colleges, universities, research centers, training centers, think tanks, etc. That is now gradually sinking in within the Bahujan community, and you do have the self efforts and not completely depending on the government sector, which is dread for all practical purposes. So that is a very promising development, in the sense that if it happens over a period of time, if it is sustained over 10 to 20 years, and we see number of Bahujan schools, colleges, and universities, that will remove the dependency on the government sector. So, and that will also, uh, in a way, disperse the capacity building institutions. And some of those institutions will come within the direct control of the Bahujan society. So that is, to me, is a very promising movement, uh, um, which augurs very well for the Republic of India. Also, the promise on the 76th Republic Day is that we are celebrating 76th Republic Day in single unit. We have reached the 76th Republic Day in one piece. There have been all the efforts to dismember, to break the republic into smaller pieces, smaller units. That has not happened. And that must be taken as an achievement and as a promise for further expansion of the Republic of India into United States of India. I for once envision and share the optimism of Baba Sahib Dr. Ambedkar, who had this vision for the United States of India. He wanted to see the entire British India constituted into one political unit. I am very hopeful even today, despite all that is going on, that Baba Sahib's vision of United States of India, because we have managed to, unlike say Pakistan, which was dismembered and now uh, completely taken over by the geopolitical powers, both the Pakistan and Bangladesh completely taken over by the geopolitical powers. We still managed to survive in as a single unit, and that is a base and a foundation from which, in due course of time, if policies for the welfare of the public of India are undertaken, the Republic of India, therefore, then can expand to become Republic of United States of India. That is also a very promising feature or promising success story, I would say, on the 76th Republic Day. So, in terms of capacity building, institutional capacity building, I see positive movement, and that is a promise. And also in terms of our capacity to withstand different kinds of pressures from the geopolitical forces, uh, that is also a very promising feature. Although in recent times, we see that efforts to destabilize this entire region, the Indian subcontinent, what I call the United States of India, they have been on the rise. The situation in Bangladesh, for example, the manner in which geopolitical forces overthrew one government and have tried to install extremist kind of a government there without the approval or without taking Delhi into confidence. That is very alarming. So maybe it may dawn on the policymakers and those of us who are seriously engaged in the geopolitics uh, that United States of India is not so much an ideal dream of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, but and those of us who share in it, but it might become a necessity that unless you expand from Republic of India into the Republic of United States of India to accommodate both the Pakistani and Bangladeshi regions, not in a forceful or militaristic way. I mean, at the humane level, when you have people to people contact, when you have shared currency and shared military, ultimately some kind of a confederation initially, step by step, a democratic movement to expand Republic of India into United States of India, that might become a necessity. Policymakers might realize that it is a necessity, because unless you have a kind of integrity, reunification within the region, the geopolitical context in which America-led bloc and then China, Russia-led bloc, and the way they are clashing together, we might become a very serious casualty. I mean, what the Indian subcontinent might very easily be converted into Latin American or Middle Eastern or say Southeast Asian kind of experience. That chaos and disorder and violence to which those regions have been thrown in the past and at present also we see uh, through geopolitical maneuvering, that might come to inflict this entire Indian subcontinent region also, unless we take proactive measures and efforts to reunify, to realize United States of India, Republic of United States of India, through democratic politics of capacity building. First and foremost, the majority of the Indian, the Bahujan society has to be has to be taken on board, and the cynical politics and cynical strategy of the Brahmin, Savarna, and upper caste people that only they would rule and they will have access to all kind of educational opportunities and capacity building opportunities, that will go away, and we will have once we have this kind of capacity at the national level, we may expand it and extend it to our neighbors, and then try to imagine a confederation or later on a federation kind of arrangement whereby this entire region can be developed within the umbrella of Republic of United States of India. So that I think is a promise that I see as a promise on the 76th Republic Day of India going forward. Alpesh.
For that, we need a Samrat Ashok kind of king in India who has built up United States of India.
I mean, that's that. Those are pre-democratic kind of arrangements. I would not go back to that. I would not like to see going back to that kind of arrangement because it's a monarchy and uh, kingship kind of an arrangement. Now we have democracy in the present
Yeah,
form and
Samrat
improved
Ashok
and
was a
refined.
democratic person, basically. We can
Well,
say the
but
Buddhist.
system is not democratic. I mean, through establishing States of India through military conquest is will be foolish. I'm not talking about military conquest. I'm talking about democratic sharing in the democratic
Democratic
fruits.
tie-up.
Yeah, and sharing with people, first of all within the Republic of India, and then with our neighbors, and taking everyone on board, and those who have democratic ethos in the region, building alliances and having dialogue, discussion, exchange, accommodation. So through that kind of approach, rather than any military. Now, I would not like to go back to any kind of a military, even if it happens to be, the military successes of Samrat Ashok. Even that is not the way forward. Without military, I would say no military ambition. That is what something. So, military aspiration is at the heart of Hindutva Akhand Bharat project. They think that they can militarily, create something like Akhand Bharat, which is stupid. It is not military expenditure or misadventure, democratic expansion. That's what I'm looking forward to, whereby uh, sharing in the fruits of democracy, economic development, progress, and growth with every section of the society, and also sharing it with our neighbors, and helping them also to come to the realization that unless we are together as one unit in some kind of a confederation or federation arrangement, the geopolitical scenario going forward is very difficult, is very challenging, and everyone will suffer. If Indian subcontinent's descent is forced into Latin American kind of a situation of the 60s and 70s, or Middle East of the last 20 years or 30 years, or Southeast Asia of the 60s and 70s, it will be a it will be a disaster for everyone. It will be a disaster for everyone who finds himself in the region. And therefore, building peaceful alliances, democratic alliances, just and humane alliances on the principle of liberty, equality, and fraternity to achieve more peaceful, more prosperous society. That is the promise of the 76th Republic of India, and that is what I look forward to, Alpesh.
Can we say in terms of the Constitution of India, the preamble itself says that we have to adopt, enact, and give to ourselves the Constitution of India. So that is, I believe, the one major promise is that we must give the whole heart to our Constitution of India. We adopt it, we enact it, and we give it to ourselves. So basically, that includes all these points what you covered in your topic. I believe it will cover everything.
Yeah, one more thing I would say. I mean, in terms of because you have brought up the constitution, I think we need to add on to the democratic content within the constitution. And I'm not, for example, someone who would say that, well, whatever is there in the constitution, let's just preserve it, because it is not sufficient. It is a good constitution that we have at present, but we need to add more democratic content. For example, constitutional provision about common education system, it must be in the constitution. It is not there. What we have in the form of article 21A is a sham. It is not sufficient. It is too little, too late, and not sufficient. We have to add a clause within the constitution, within the fundamental rights chapter part 3, which would say that every Indian is entitled to go to common education system. It's a fundamental right. No government should be allowed to relegate on this constitutional promise. So that promise is missing. It is not in the text of the constitution. We need to add it. We also need to add something called fundamental right to health, public health system. That needs to be added. It is missing from the text of the constitution. So these things should go to the and also, the protection of freedoms and liberties. We have given simply too much of within the constitution. Now there is too much of power to the government in terms of preventive detention laws, in terms of making anti-libertarian laws, anti-human rights laws in the name of some terrorism, in the name of national security, etc. That has to go. So we have to add positive democratic content in the text of the constitution in order to make
So,
it, more promising. It is not enough. It is very good, excellent inheritance that
so
we
that
have, but we need to build on
that provision is itself, it is in that constitution. You can, add this point whichever required in present scenario.
it.
That's why
Yes.
Dr. V.R. Ambedkar told that we can
Mm.
include the scenario which is prevalent at that time. You can change the constitution of India, and that's what all we can say. The even Supreme Court told that you can add the values which is as per the constitution of India. It's
Yeah.
it should not alter the letter and spirit of the constitution of India, that is the welfare of the people of India. So
Yeah.
we can add this point, which is
Okay.
actually it is because the people who are at the position where the Constitution of India is implemented by them. They are
Yeah.
not the constitutionalist. Basically, they are against the Constitution of India,
Yeah.
and that's why it is happening. Even you put these clauses, if they have the power, then they will destroy that system also. So
Yes.
unless and until we put the constitutionalist people in the power, we are we are not achieving what the Constitution of India wanted to achieve
Yeah.
for us. So
Yeah. Some of the
that is
some
the
of the
main thing
provisions
basically.
some of the provisions which are already there in the directive principle of state policy, they need to be shifted from directive principles to the fundamental rights part. I mean, the directive against income inequality, it's already there, but that needs to be shifted from now. It is 76 Republic Day. Now we have to shift. I mean, how much time do you need? It has now need to go from the directive principle of state policy to the mandatory part third fundamental rights chapter, right? It cannot remain there forever. I mean, what is the point of having a directive principle of state policy which forever remains an aspiration and never actually enforced and implemented? So some things need to be added, and some things can be shifted from one part to another part to make the dream and aspiration of a just, humane, democratic, peaceful, prosperous Republic of India much more concrete, much more relatable, much more real, much more closer to the majority of the people of the Bahujan society, and that would benefit some Brahmin, Savarna, upper caste, Sayyid, Ashraf also. That is a different story. The Bahujan Republic will benefit every section of the society, and upper caste will also benefit from it. They are totally broken people in the sense having very little capacity to develop India into a prosperous, self-reliant, sovereign country. I mean, our sovereignty is totally compromised today. What is sovereignty? I mean, people in Delhi cannot take the decisions about the borders, about the forces that can intervene, about the policies that we can implement. What is sovereignty? I mean, we hardly have any sovereignty. It is lost as a result of the incapacity of the so-called upper caste people who have been in power. They have been in power for a very long time, and they have proved completely incapable of realizing the dreams and aspiration of a developed, peaceful, just, democratic, human India. And therefore, power, I totally agree with you, has to move, decision-making power has to move away from the upper caste people, even, which is in the benefit, which is in their own benefit. They would benefit more than they are the ones who are running away from India, who are leaving Indian citizenship. Just look at the caste profile of those individuals who are leaving Indian citizenship every year in lakhs, and trying to get into America or Canada by whatever legal, illegal means. Who are those? What is the caste profile of that group? Do you have any idea? Most of them come from these so-called, ruling upper caste groups. Because of the systematic destruction of the educational system, of the economy, of the health system, etc. Even those middle income group and lower income group within the upper caste society, they are not willing to live within India. And those who are, resourceful, they are buying their way out of India, buying the citizenship of Europe and Canada and Australia, etc., and running away from India. That's the kind of India they have achieved in 76 years. So I think realizing the dreams and aspiration of the Democratic Republic of India
Actually, it is
and its citizens would be in the interest of upper caste also. Yeah, you are saying something.
very unfortunate to see that some chief minister are posting his children's education outside of India, and he's proud of my son has taken this degree from this
Yeah,
country
yeah,
university. If even
yes,
though he is CA, and he's proud that my son going to take a degree outside of India. And whenever they are ill, they go outside of India for that treatment. So
absolutely, absolutely. That's the
we are
that's
aware
the
of that.
abject
We
failure.
are
Yeah,
the say that we develop India like anything, and they are not developing, and they are going outside of India. Even our, we can say, any minister, we can say, they are going for their treatment outside of India. So that is
yes,
shameful for them. They are in power and they could not develop India. That treatment even we can do in India. So
yes,
what do you we can say about the common people of India who are not in power? So that is
yes,
okay. That is another point. Almost, I believe we have passed 40 minutes now. So let us conclude this topic and give some brief about our this topic, that challenges and promises we have to do on the 76th Republic Day of India. So concluding message, please give to our viewers.
yeah. But in conclusion, I would say that although we face serious challenges on the 76th Republic Day of India, yet the Bahujan movement from Fulle Ambedkar and Sari Periyar quartet that I call has uh, potential and promises through which those challenges can be overcome. So we have challenges, and they are very difficult, tough challenges, but they are not such kind of challenges that cannot be overcome. Bahujan society can overcome those challenges that we are facing, and most of them are the making of the upper caste people. But we can transcend and overcome those challenges to establish Bahujan Republic, which would be in some form, in my humble opinion, United States of India, Republic of United States of India will become a reality someday. And the Bahujan society is moving in the direction of establishing Bahujan Republic, and hopefully one day we will have United States of India, Republic of United States of India, which will be much more confident, much more self-reliant, much more prosperous, independent, and peaceful for itself as well as for all its neighbors and the entire Indian subcontinent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us on MNT News Network. And we will come again with new topic after this session. So join us whenever we ask you to join us. And thank you very much for your time and talent which you are giving to us and our viewers. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulli Nivasi, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidan.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. Jai Bhim, Jai Samvidan.